And on the anniversary of D-Day in the 90s, anyway, I went there with him. So this is another summer. Sussex stifles in the heat, fields raked by sun, the panting trees weighed down with their greenery. Your uncle points to hangars that have evaporated like mirages, runways overrun by battalions of wheat. He remembers pubs he drank at, wobbling back through the blackout on Air Force issue bicycles. It's a miracle no one was killed, and flogging Canadian cigarettes and military blankets smuggled out under bulky greatcoats. In the dark of the museum, he recognizes a few grainy photographs, young men leaning nonchalantly on Spitfires, cigarettes dangling from their lips, two washing their feet outside a tent and fighting over the soap. He can name the ones who died, slipping from radio contact somewhere over Normandy, or who, their planes already burning, crashed short of the runway, the last fuel erupting in a balloon of flame. At the gift counter, he toys with a shrapnel paperweight, telling the woman he was stationed here and how nothing but the skylines seem the same. Outside, the light is blinding, the car a furnace. We drive away towards Chichester, its spire still a marker, although everywhere the trees have grown, that summer trapped in their rings. Now I'm forgetting which poem's in which book. Right. So this poem is called Self-Portrait as a Francis Bacon, which is a rather strange title. But when I say I like Francis Bacon's paintings, that's probably a misnomer, but I find them interesting. And when I was a student, I remember going to London to see an exhibition of them. And this is a poem about that, but it's a poem about thinking about myself at that age as well. Self-Portrait as a Francis Bacon. You painted with a scalpel, each canvas a wound excavated by pain, the body always something flayed and suffering, the human mouth opened again and again in a howl of agony or despair, canines bared. The only dog is circling, savage with fear, its blackened flesh looking as if it's been incinerated. The first time I saw your pictures, I remember stumbling clear of the gallery, the screaming popes, eviscerated lovers, faced with half their skin scraped off, still ringing in my mind. I stepped into the din of a London afternoon, the lights just coming on, streets glittering, the faces past me taut with anguish, eyes blind with exhaustion, nerves, sinews, tendons, all rippling beneath pale November skin. Stop, wait, rewind. Was that really the way it happened? Didn't I in fact enjoy something of your revulsion, the way you kicked traditional painting in the teeth, immersed yourself in horror? I was 19, nibbling at the fringes of Sartre and Camus, unsure of what I needed, but needing it, whatever it was, to be clean and true. To know the scheme of things, to clear my cluttered mind of all the junk built up over time, I wrote, thinking I could throw over the past, make it all new. The gallery was intimate, sexual, scented with paint and the bodies of the people moving through it. I was alone in London. I could be anyone I chose. Man is a blank slate, you wrote. I wanted to believe you, wanted to feel something of your great pain, wanted to feel something. So another new poem, or newish. If I can find it, there it is. When I say new, I actually wrote it a while ago and just put it in my not working pile or file, and then looked at it again. I thought, oh, actually, you know, that's not bad, and then sort of worked on it. So this is called Fire Lanterns. Your 50th. Oh, does everyone know what fire lanterns are? Those things you light. It's like a paper balloon and they go up. Yeah. Fire lanterns. Your 50th. The edge of Derwent water. We're stumbling in the dark, trying to light the little baskets as the unwieldy globes skid about with every slight breeze. Mine fills, then sags, then fills again. I can feel its heat on my face, a dangerous animal in my arms, paper flesh that could erupt at any second. Earlier, we climbed Kappa Bells in the last light, exalted on the cold blast on the summit, other higher peaks disappearing into a swagged mass of cloud. In the dark, the lanterns start to go up. Mine staggers in the air for a moment, then races over the rooftop, the wind gusting it out across the lake, where it joins the others in a skittering dance. How far each will fly is anyone's guess, but for now they rise together, a moving constellation, floating up over the hunched peaks, punctuating a vast and starless sky. And this is, I'm sure a lot of poets wrote about COVID, but this was a sonnet called Touch. We're forbidden the language of touch, can no longer translate our need into hug, kiss, or simple handshake, as keep our distance and breathe through masks of dumb cotton. Every other body is a potentially lethal weapon and must be treated as such. We live on screens, pixelated simulacra of embodied selves, voices reanimated through the witchcraft of the digital. But it's no match for an arm of comfort on a shoulder, the syntax of a caress, the bliss of one body speaking to another. Another bird poem. I live in Brighton, in sort of quite a suburban area, and there's a lot of goldfinches around. I love bird watching, so I was standing in the garden, and these goldfinches whizzed past me towards the house, disappeared over the roof, and then something just went straight past my ear, incredibly fast, so fast that all I did was catch a glimpse of it as it disappeared. It was a sparrowhawk. So I just wrote this poem called Sparrowhawk. The moment I glimpsed your racing shape at my shoulder, long legs braced, claws outstretched, wings pivoting in a turn, you were gone, still registering on my retina as you overtook the rooftop and evaporated from sight. And no sound except the panic fleeting passage of two goldfinches you'd flushed from the garden feeder. And this is just a series of poems I'm writing about my mother, who's 90 this year, and sort of fairly healthy, but short-term memory problems. It's called Mother Son. You've shrunk now, and I loom over you, a middle-aged son, your thin ribs under my fingers as I hug your hunched torso. Your hair still dark, but the face it frames is sunk with age, lids sagging over rheumy eyes. Islands of sun-damaged skin colonize your forehead. It's just old age, you tell me when I ask if you've seen a doctor. Almost daily you ring. When are we coming round? When are we on holiday? Writing it down, then ringing back, the details leaking away like water through a broken gutter. And this poem was actually written in response to a course I went on with the poetry school in London, course about lichen. And I'm sort of very interested in lichen because they're such strange things that they're, not plants or animals. They're actually symbiotic relationship between a fungus and a bacteria. So we were up in London looking at lichen, and once you start looking for them, they're everywhere. You don't sort of think they'd be in London, but they're everywhere. Apparently there were none in London, or none seen in London, until the Clean Air Act in the 1950s, when they stopped basically burning loads of coal and they came back. So this is lichens. Is there mind here in these tiny symbiotic towers with their cup-like fruiting bodies, the minuscule ruffles and waves of the colony spreading like a yellow lava field across the brickwork. Metabolism is slowed to the upteenth and may stop altogether for long periods of drought or darkness. And yet something wants and is alive. The evidence is everywhere in this South London street. Grey galaxies clinging to plane trees, white chewing gum planets on the pavement, what looks like soot coating the bark of an ash tree. Unnoticed, disregarded, tiny spores coat the air we breathe, settle on rooftops, garden furniture, unwashed cars, anything that stays still long enough for this slow will to find its feet. I don't know if anyone's heard of Ötzi the Iceman. Anyone heard of Ötzi the Iceman? Yeah. So in the 90s, I think, some climbers in the Alps stumbled on a body in the ice that was just coming out of the ice. And they thought it was a recent or sort of climber who died and got stuck in the glacier. And they called the police. But it turned out it was a 2,500-year-old mummy, really. It had sort of been mummified in the ice. And they got it out quite quickly and then sort of refroze it. And then there was a big argument about whether it was Austrian or Italian because it was on the border and the border is undefined at that point. In the end, they decided it was Italian and it's in a museum in Bolzano, which and I went to see him. And I also went up to the spot where he was found, which was fascinating. I had actually walked past that spot in the 1980s because my parents were keen alpine walkers and we'd actually been up there and sort of walked over that spot. So this is Iceman and it's in 4 parts. So I'll just pause between each bit. We queue for hours like penitents to catch a glimpse of your twisted tobacco brown corpse, one arm thrown over the other shoulder, toenails still intact, our faces bathed in the blue heavenly light of the deep freeze. Ice crystals gather in your groin, the troughs between wasted muscles, the leathery cave of your stomach. Front teeth root like pale bulbs in blackened gums. 5,000 years have tanned your skin to a waxy shine, addled the misty sockets of your eyes. We've diced you with CAT scans, ransacked your DNA, become familiar with the final intimate contents of your shrunken gut. But your skull is an abandoned hive, the damp enfolded strata of your brain, blank as snow. When they coaxed you from the ice, you were slippery as a newborn, meltwater pooling around your softening hide, legs slowly coming loose until you lay, face down, soaked in your birth fluids, mute witness to the glacier's accelerating catastrophe. Murder victim, crushed remnant of the Neolithic. Stripped of your bearskin cloak, hide leggings and copper axe, you could be one of us, soft-skinned, unaccommodated, dying alone. Yeah, sorry, he's actually 5,000 years old. I forgot that. It was later, when they first discovered him, it was a mystery how he died. They thought he just died of exposure or something. Later, years later, they found he had an arrow shaft in his, an arrow point in his shoulder. Someone had killed him up there. So it's sort of a huge mystery as to what he was doing out there, because it was about 10,000 feet up in the Alps. There is a pass there from Italy now into Austria, but obviously people were using that 5,000 years ago, amazingly. Right. So a few more. Is that all right? This is I've written 2 poems about David Attenborough. This one's about, they're both about nature documentaries. This one's about watching a nature documentary with my son, who was 10 at the time. It's called Attenborough, of course. Attenborough, of course, but hoping to avoid the episodes on species loss, climate disaster, we watch pink flamingos in their thousands nesting on a vast salt flat. You're engrossed, fascinated in your 10-year-old way by so many seemingly identical birds in one place, by how the adults find their chicks in all that apparent chaos. But the lake begins to dry out, and the half-grown, stilt-legged, flightless young must trudge miles across the burning flats to find water. As the camera pans in on one of the many that won't make it, legs caked with drying salt, its feet dragging as it loses the race to keep up, you begin to cry, appalled at the chick's abandonment in that broiling, waterless place. And I turn off the television, hold you, whisper faithless words of comfort. I'm just going to finish with a couple from Kin. A lot of this book was about my son's birth, and he was born prematurely. So about that and the experience of fatherhood. So I'll just read a couple. And this is called Quickening. As you may know, quickening is sort of when the pregnancy starts. And this is a prose poem. You can see it's sort of written out in prose. A funny beast of prose poem. It's not really a story. It's a bit different from what's called flash fiction, which is a very short story, because it doesn't really have a narrative. But I quite like them because it somehow allows you to explore things a bit more in a bit more abstraction, perhaps, than a normal poem. So this is Quickening. When does being begin? I imagine you in the womb, a clutch of cells seething with division, a bud of life opening into spine, tubular heart, nascent limbs. They used to say the soul enters the body after 40 days, hatched like a miraculous egg, though where it was before was anybody's guess. Now we're not so sure, talk of zygote, fetus, use the language of science, shy away from ascribing personhood to something we can never remember being. In a snowstorm of ultrasound, the nurse points to a shifting white patch, what could be an eel or the tail of a dragon for all I can tell. It's a boy, she says, though whatever you are clearly isn't a person yet, a he or a she. It's the same way we talk about animals we haven't domesticated. It's a vixen, we say, hearing that desperate childlike whine on a winter's night. The fox too moves beyond the pale of the human, male or female. What about all the ones who never make it to birth? Were they ever there? What should we call that flicker of sentience, the moment when matter wakes up? Awareness, consciousness, soul? Perhaps being is as close as we can get, more verb than noun. Couple more. So this is called Ode to a New Life Form, and it's about the fact that in 2010, Craig Ventnor, who's a scientist, announced that he and his colleagues had synthesized a microbe using chemically constructed blocks of DNA. What they actually did was take an existing microbe and rearrange the DNA in it. And in a way, is that a new life form? I don't know. So this is Ode to a New Life Form, and it starts with some letters which are part of the human, or the code, the genetic code of human beings, or lots of different things. Ode to a New Life Form. TTA, TTG, you stutter out a new dialect, unheard before in the babble of chromosomes, your DNA shaped by computer and the human hand you will never touch. Each microscopic motor view parroting the same cues until some slip or mischance changes one of your offspring for the better or worse, and the human hand loses control. Another turn in evolution's never-ending game of Chinese whispers, like the 3.8 billion years of mishearings that led to this and this and this, hand-eye consciousness, these words writing themselves across a page. And I tried to write it as a spiral of DNA, but that was very difficult. So it's sort of, you can see it's kind of like that, but hard to do, isn't it? Spent ages fiddling about with that. Sorry? What? A concrete poem, yeah. Yeah.
Roger McGuff has a brilliant one. It's something, it's called something like watchwords.
Yeah.
And it says, you've got to watch, but take your eye off them. goes across the page. Up the page, all over the
Well, that's brilliant, isn't it? And he did one ages ago about tennis, where a couple,
Yes.
do you remember going back and forth across the net? Yeah. So this is a different ode, and this is ode to Ted. This is an ode to my son. He's now nearly 13, but this was sort of when he was 3 or 4. So I'll finish with this one. My boy, my wee one, my bean sprout sprouting, my live wire leaping, my conjurer conjuring words from thin air. My little man, my buckaroo, my reading laugher, my show stealing larger than life. What shall we do, wrecker of rooms? My simmering pot, my genie, my up with the dawn havoc wreaker, my brawling baller, my loudspeaker, my joker, my bamboozler, my natty jack nattering, my stickler, my struggler, my can I sit on your head dad mugger, my new life, my one and only never to be repeated leaping lord, my priceless hoard, my darling, my son. Thanks.
Wow. Well, Hugh Dunkerley, thank you so much. Those lovely variety, interesting readings, fantastic poems. So thank you so much, Hugh. Thank you. Okay, so I think we'll go straight into the open mic. Those of you in the cafe, if you want to go and talk to Gareth and get coffee, beer, wine, mead, or some fantastic cakes. There are brownies, there are bakewells, there are all sorts of wonderful, tempting, delicious things. And those of you on Zoom, I'm so sorry that you can't partake of them. I'm sure you'd love to. So I'll go straight in. And those of you know by now that the way it works is that we will invite somebody either on Zoom or in the cafe here to read. I'll invite you in any order that feels appropriate. So whatever. The exception to that is, of course, that I know that Pratibha needs to leave early. And Pratibha's on Zoom. So Pratibha, would you like to kick us off, please? If you would like to unmute yourself, everybody else stay muted. If you want to unmute yourself and take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. Hugh, it was great to hear you and see you. Okay, so I'm going to read a poem that was given special mention in last year's Welsh poetry competition, and it's called Hug. And it speaks loosely of my relationship with my mother, semi-fictionally. Hug. My mother's heart was a lake, its frozen surface cracked when I was young, with insults hurled her way, and I hurled many, wounding like rocks, till her cool glaze became a starburst of splintered love. Even her delight in daffodils, withered since the bunch of yellow bells she gave me on my 15th birthday, whose whole heads I bit off, mad at her for some imagined slight, and in an acid spritz of blame, spat her way. When my mother, murmuring to herself, sure the poor girl's tired, patted my arm, our only physical exchange, for we never hugged. Having learnt years later how an infant monkey languishes if deprived of its mother's touch, I subjected her to a lingering clinch. Not just a brief ooh la la peck on either cheek, stay 2 feet away from one another sort of hug, but a belly to belly, chest to chest squeeze, palming up and down her back, as though grooming the silk-eyed Persian hunkered on the couch, glaring, and on a normal day, the only flesh my mother or myself would handle. And when she tried to edge away, I fastened my grip like, now I've got you, Ma, you're going nowhere. The way, when small, I ached for her to hold me, limpet tight. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratibha. Thank you. That was great. And a good start, a great start. Okay, now I know also that Zara is in the Lebanon, you say. So, and it's quite late there. So we ought to get you to speak as soon as possible. So Zara, if you're still there, are you? Please unmute yourself and let us hear from you. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm sure I know a lot of people in here, and a lot of people in here know me because I've been in open mic events all over the days. So I usually read sad poetry and heartbroken poems, and I'm always the sad girl, but tonight is a little bit different. I'm actually in love, and I wrote a love poem that I would love to share. Yeah, I'm just so in love and I want to share a love poem. So this one is titled Love Poem. They say love isn't supposed to take your sanity away. And I never understood that. It could have been translated in 1,000 ways. I always thought that love equals anxiety and panic attacks and fights on the highway. I always thought that love is me begging someone else to stay. Until I met you. My sky suddenly turned blue and stopped being gray. For the first time in forever, I feel completely okay. I want to dance with you. I want you to make my hips sway. I know it's just the beginning, but I want you nearby. Inside my arms, I'd like you to lay. You don't care about my imperfections, not even how much I weigh. I want you to touch my body and shape it up like clay. It might be too early, but you haunt my poems now, and what I'm about to say might sound cliche, but I just can't wait for the beautiful things coming on the way. And thank you.
Thank you,
so
Zara.
much.
Lovely to see you. Thank you. And do come again. It's your first time here, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Oh, you've been here before?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. All right. I do this from time to time. I just want to now go under a table. I'm so sorry. It's lovely to see you again. Okay, we're going to come back into the room here now, and I think we'll ask Nigel to read.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. I'm going to read a poem by Richard Calvert Williamson, who he sadly died recently, and he's a local nature lover and poet. This one's called Storm Petrel. This water witch that once gave dread walks the waves with tiptoe tread, like phantoms skimming on the scurf. Excuse me. Glissades down steep, green-hollowed cavern, where sailors feel the endless fathom, and ancient mariners once thought Mother Carey's chickens would escort them to their deaths on endless white and boiling shore. This tiny, dark, mysterious bird, lover of the violent ocean, squeals on land, shrieks, groans, and churs in fear of leaving safety of the deep. And in blackest night on lonely isle, digs burrows, hides underground, its creative urge to keep.
Thank you, Nigel.
Thank you, Nigel. Thank you very much. Okay, So next up, please, we'll go back to the Zoomers, and let's please go with Britta from Bonnie, Scotland. Britta, over to you.
Right, Hugh. And for once, the weather is actually nice, so makes a welcome change. I'm going to read a piece of flash fiction today, 500 words, so it won't take long. It's called The Secret. Her apple cake was something else. I've got to give her that. It was July, or possibly even October. The months could never quite keep themselves in order. They were like cats. Her noiseless memory resembled a twitching magpie. Every now and then, Granny May snatched the shiny things out of thin air. Keen, but too fragile, far too slight at times, then heavy as grief, a roar. Perhaps life was just a collection of rings, too small, too large, like warm hugs and kisses and the sadness of saying goodbye on the wrong Monday. You're my best friend, Granny May would sing at the garden gate to no one in particular. She loved them all, the postman, the people in the neighbourhood going off to work, the school children pointing fingers, making fun of her. Granny May laughed with them. She didn't need to hear the joke. Her soul listened to the stars on the other side. Babies understood and smiled back. You're my best friend, she sang, rain or shine, sleet or snow. Her slippers, a magic carpet, taking her for a ride into oblivion. If the wind howled at her, she would simply howl back and win the argument every time. There she was, a pointyless dream under the blossoms of the cherry tree in spring, and then amidst the white roses in summer, with a Christ-like crown of thorns. One September morning, we had to cut her out of the bramble bushes at the end of our drive. She got stuck pining, an occupational hazard. The moon so strong, Granny May stronger though, just a little frayed around the edges, thinning, waning. She didn't mind. Pineapples, onions, fish and cucumber, all welcome. We loved autumn. We loved winter even more. Granny May was easier to find amongst the bare-naked trees, her purple rins sticking out like a beacon of hope. Bethlehem. You're my best friend, she sang as she stroked our neighbour's rowan tree, her feet firmly anchored in the fallen leaves. She stuffed the last remaining blood-red berries of the year into her mouth. They were her best friends too. She looked so happy hugging that trunk of eternity, chomping, rejoicing. It was the day Granny May reached perfection and realized life was easy, done, weightless, iridescent. She had forgotten everything, our names, her own, the lot. No more worries, just the here and now, where everyone was her best friend and she, the most beloved creature of them all, basking in rainbows. Having mastered the art of living, she drew her own consequences. There was no bewildering her soul anymore. In a most wonderful, most authentic affirmation of who she was and all that she could ever become, she went to bed that night. You're my best friend, Granny May said into the darkness one last time. The famous apple cake recipe, her secret, forever safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Britta. Thank you so much. I think we'll stay with the Zoom for a while. So I think I'll invite next. Let's go with Wheezy, please. Wheezy.
Okay. Hugh, I really enjoyed your poetry, and your imagery was fabulous. And there's probably never been a better description of a son. I loved it. And the description of the mother, that was a great poem too. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. And Zara, I'm happy someone's in love. Now, this poem I wrote really for my European friends to, in some small way, an explanation of the appalling situation we're facing in America with guns, with gun violence. So here we go. And I have a little caveat after I'm done to give you an update. Anyway, this is called America's Second Amendment. Enthusiasts of the Second believe if they compromise in any way with Congress for safer gun laws, the government will take all their guns, all their rifles, every one. This the first big lie of our modern American Republican Party. Perpetrated by the gun lobby and the NRA, who took their muse to bed with money and votes, seducing with violent sex toys like the gladiators of Rome on the well-worn path to manly glory. This in the cause of freedom in the cataract-clouded America. They fancy themselves our true patriots, cuddling next to Jesus to secure their place in heaven with their hobbies safely tucked under their call to arms. Now, I have to say, there has been some small agreement made, bipartisan, which has not been written into law yet, but a little bit background checks for younger people. Now, in America today, a 17-year-old child can go to bed, wake up at 18, and buy an AR, whatever they're called, AR-17s or 15s, and it's legal. So this is what we're up against, and I apologize, really.
Thank you, Wheezy. Thank you, Wheezy. You keep wondering how many more times, don't you? I mean, I remember when we were out there. So I'm gonna I'm gonna read one now that I read last week, actually, but there weren't very many people here.
Can I just say, in support of the gun owners in America, the polls on this are like 85% they want something done. It's Congress that won't move.
Yeah, quite. Well,
it's
because
Congress
they get paid.
Well, because they're afraid they're going to lose their seats. Isn't it's just appalling?
Republicans,
it's because they get money from the NRA, Wheezy, isn't it? They get
NRA and the gun NRA. Lobby. Yeah.
Republicans. It's Republicans. It's not Congress.
Yeah, right. Thanks, Larry.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did I say?
Well, you said Congress, but there are two parts.
But the Republicans poll, gun owners poll, they want something done. It's the Senate, the Congress that won't move. So they won't move. They won't compromise.
Well, the answer apparently the answer is for more people to have guns. So that apparently is what will solve it. Look, I wrote this after Marjorie Stoneman Douglas high school shooting in Florida at Parkland. I wrote this. I can't even remember what I called it now, but it doesn't matter. In space, they say, no one can hear you scream. And that is a fact of physics. Nowadays, in America, it seems no one can hear you scream. And that is a simple act of denial. So there you are. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, that was me. Let's ask somebody else. Piers. We're back in the room here. Piers.
Wheezy, would you mute, please?
Oh, I'm.
Hello. Are we okay? Can you hear me? Okay. This is sorry. I'll start again. What I'm going to read tonight are some notes that I made for a novel, and the novel was going to be about the childhood of a guy called Rick, and it would go on to become 1969, then 1985, then 1999, and finally Rivers. But then I thought, no, hang on a minute, we're going to need the first 20 years or so of this guy's life. And so I started writing these brief notes, okay? And this novel would be called Maria, if it ever gets written. This is chapter 1, and the title is From the Very Beginning, and it's slightly metaphysical, just in case you wondered. I'm good at history. I was there from the very beginning. I remember it all. The ships on fire at Trafalgar, Jeanette climbing from the stern window of the burning Achilles, the Scots Greys at Waterloo, Lord Uxbridge losing his leg. My dancing days are over. My birth, my mother's distress, the cesarean section, twins. My brother and I have never been separated. There was an operation, but that was on my heart. I was a blue baby. I have had to struggle to keep up. He's the athlete, tall and straight. I'm not a cripple. I've got 2 legs, one shorter than the other, that's all. I like to scoot along. On a scooter, I look good. On a horse, I look wonderful. I love my horse. But I forgot to say, I'm a girl, the second sex. When I had a cardiac arrest after my first stop, I heard one of the doctors say, never mind, the boy's all right. The other doctor was leaning over me. He had long, greasy hair tied back in a bow. His lovely blue eyes crinkled up at the corners. He said, she's all right. She's just testing us out. Look, she's laughing. I blew bubbles for him. I love that man. I love my brother. I have long, greasy hair now. I tie it back in a bow. I have lovely blue eyes. Sometimes I am my brother. It's something more than just pretending. We're lookalikes. My mother dresses us as like identical twins. You're equals, and I love you the same. When we started school, our teacher could not tell us apart. Stop scooting, she would yell. Thank you. That's the end of chapter 1.
Thanks, Piers. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go back to the Zoom now. And I think I'm going to ask June, please. Lovely to see you again. Over to you. Please unmute yourself and take it away.
Thank you so much for having me again. I'm going to read from Heart, my chapbook, and this is a poem in the form of a letter, and it's called Dear Sister. Dear sister, I have run away to find something exquisite in a new garden, something beyond buried treasure and garden bulbs of various varieties. I have escaped sameness, the quality of always wishing for more, and I can't come back. More was usually right there in front of me, but I couldn't see it then. I see it now. For you, there is time. Seldom do we visit or experience all that a garden has to offer, the possibility of treasure traded for busyness, but there is plenty of time for you to pay attention to every drop of every day. I say to you, my sister, drink. Drink the sun rays one by one until you are a little girl again, giddy with joy and the fun of it. The fun of it lying in a pile of crunchy fall leaves until they turn green again, and then being ready to wear your wedding dress. Jump into it that very day for the fun of it and the questions. Be ready to promise a second time to a new garden and pay attention to it. share your space, share your heart. Upon my escape, I advise you, my sister, to be sensational. Go shopping in your swimsuit and heels for the life of it. Pay attention, my dears, to the smaller things in your new garden. Take someone's hand and cross the street with them. Smile with them when they offer you coffee. Plant tomatoes in your new garden. Share a meal, share your space, share your heart. Please, please make a start to pay attention and look for the secrets we missed. Like father keeps whiskey in the garage, you know, he's not polishing his racket. And butterflies travel farther every year than we've ever been on vacation. Pay attention, my darling, to every drop of every day, colors and performances that flow and sway all around you. Take notice, share your garden, share your space, share your heart, my sister. Upon my escape, please make a start. I am watching. I am with you. I will know. Always yours, sister. Thank you.
Thank you very much, June. That was lovely. Thank you. I know that, Alexandra, when you come on, you like some sort of warning. So we'll be putting you on in 1 or 2 pieces time, okay? In the meantime, I think we'll stick with the Zoom and let's go with Larry. And feel better soon, Larry.
Thank you, thank you. So I thought I'd read 2 short ones, neither one of which is mine. This is by Keith Leonard and it's called Statement of Teaching Philosophy. My students want certainty. They want it so badly. They respect science and have memorized complex formulas. I don't know how to tell them I don't know how to tell my students their parents are still just as scared. I'm doing a wonderful job at this, sorry. I don't know how to tell my students their parents are still just as scared. The bullies get bigger and vaguer, and you cannot punch a cloud. I have eulogies for all my loved ones prepared, but cannot include this fact in my lesson plans. The best teacher I ever had told me to meet him at the basketball court. We played pickup for hours. By the end, I lay panting on the hardwood and couldn't so much as stand. He told me to describe the pain in my chest. I tried. I couldn't find the words, not exactly. Listen, he said, that's where language ends. That's the first. And the second, for these times, it's called Instructions for Not Giving Up by Ada Limon. More than the fuchsia funnels breaking out of the crabapple tree, more than the neighbor's almost obscene display of cherry limbs shoving their cotton candy blossoms to the slate sky of spring rains, it's the greening of the trees that really gets to me. When all the shock of white and taffy, the world's baubles and trinkets leave the pavement strewn with the confetti of aftermath, the leaves come. Patient, plodding, a green skin growing over whatever winter did to us. A return to the strange idea of continuous living despite the mess of us, the hurt, the empty. Fine then, I'll take it, the tree seems to say. A new slick leaf unfurling like a fist to an open palm. I'll take it all. Thanks.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to come back into the room now and invite Rebecca.
I'm going to read a poem, or maybe two, I'm not sure, also by Richard Calvert Williamson. And I've chosen Black Red Start. Yes, I remember London and the Blitz. One afternoon of heat, the car stopped there, where were piles of bricks. Someone walked the street, wondering which house had been theirs, seeing only willows and willow herb and brick blossoming flowers, no whit less coloured than flames of many hours. And in that moment, a blackbird sang, its chest like soot of bombed burst chimneys. I could see its ashen head. It had found the landscape of the dead and sang its requiem from splintered gibbet beam. I was comforted by the brave new bird and its promise of a better world.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, Alexandra, if you're ready, we've got set up the screen sharing, so take it away.
Alexandra, the sound of the music is louder than the sound of your voice. If you can adjust that, I don't know. We can see the graphics.
No, there is no music.
Why can we hear music?
You can hear music?
We can hear piano, yeah. Are you sure you don't have something playing? Yeah, that's it. Well, something. Close that. No?
Close the entire thing.
Ah. There.
Okay. So can you hear me now without the music?
That's much better, yes.
Okay, then maybe something was. Can you see the graphics on your screen?
Yep, we can.
The guitarist is playing tennis, sorry.
He's not playing guitar, he's playing tennis, okay.
Yeah, it's the weather is nice, so. Flying, flying, flying. Sitting on the big garden swing in front of our lemon and pomegranate trees, gazing at the sea. Such beauty in my magical world. All my magic, all my world. And my heart beats strong and I smile tenderly, encouragingly. And my heart beats fast and I promise to try and follow it. And maybe it's time for the hope to come again. Flying, flying, flying. Still loving you more and more. Knowing you're the one until the end. And my heart beats strong and I want to follow it. And my heart beats fast and I want to find a way to follow it. And maybe it's time to look up at the pink and turquoise open skies for the connection, the certainty of the connection. Flying, flying, flying. Still loving you more and more. Knowing your pure soul until the end. And my heart beats strong and I follow it. And my heart beats fast and I find a way to follow it. And it's time for the sweetness, for the satisfaction to come all the way up inside. Flying, flying, flying. Inside our magical world. All our magic, all our world. Riding the same wave, jiving, jiving, jiving. And my heart beats strong and I follow it. And my heart beats fast and I follow it. I follow it wherever it goes. And it's time for all the believing, for all the feeling of precious, precious vibrations. Flying, 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 still loving you more and more, knowing our pure souls until the end. And my heart beats strong and I follow it. And my heart beats fast and I follow it, following, following, following. And it's time for us to receive all these pure perceptions, so centering, so comforting, so home. Flying, 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 still loving each other more and more. Our love flowing between us until the end. And our hearts beat strong and we follow them. And our hearts beat fast and we follow them. We follow them all the way up our path. And it's time for all our magic, for all our world, for all our magical world. Flying, flying, flying. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandra. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, we're staying with the Zoom, and thank you for being so patient. Dennis, let's go.
This is a poem by Dr. Seuss called The Cat in the Hat on Aging. I cannot see, I cannot pee, I cannot chew, I cannot screw. Oh my God, what can I do? My memory shrinks, my hearing stinks, no sense of smell, I look like hell. My mood is bad, can you tell? My body's drooping, have trouble pooping. The golden years have come at last. The golden years can kiss my ass. Thank you.
Brilliant, Dennis. That was well worth waiting for. Thank you so much. Okay, and I shall now invite Tina to follow that one. Sorry.
That's going to be difficult. Hi, everyone, and thank you to Hugh for some really interesting poems there. Great variety. There seems to be a theme of mothers and children or babies tonight. This one is called You Don't Look Good in Yellow. I'm full of hay fever, so sorry if I cough and I'm a bit sinusy. Pollen count's really high here. You don't look good in yellow. You don't look good in yellow, she said. Why not, I asked. Was it too sunny, too exuberant, too golden for your least favoured daughter? The serious-minded one, always with her head in a book, who looked at her mother discerningly and with suspicion. Am I pretty? I asked. She shook her head. I would say you're attractive rather than pretty, she said. If I had a daughter, I would say to her, you are beautiful every single day. Instead, I wear yellow and smile and shine and don't worry about pretty anymore.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you so much. Now we're back in the room. I'll invite Mike to take the mic. Mike, the mic.
Thank you. I did actually build a website once called Audio Mike. So thank you, Hugh, for that incredible reading. I really loved all the poems. I was particularly struck how so many of them were about birds and nature, and even just things like the plains and things that we can observe, but how at the same time, there's something very human about all of that, and that the drama of life is found in all of that. So I think that's what's very relatable about them. So thank you, they were wonderful. This is a poem actually that I wrote this evening. I either famously or infamously write poems very quickly. often a few minutes before these events begin. This was a record, actually. It came out in about 3 minutes. It's called Broken. Broken, like a biscuit or a record, a window or a heart. Spoken like morning, like warning, like howling, like the start of a motor or a race or a yeast or a life, and flowing like a river, like gin, like smiling, like sunshine, like this happening in freefall. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, so we're nearly at the end. And Hugh was reading quite a few poems about animals and, you know, birds as well, animals, other living creatures. So I'm minded. Now, I just want to give you a health warning on this one. So I will, you know, I'll give you a health warning so that if you're going to be offended, you can log off. And if you're going to be offended in the room, you can walk out. But there are rather a lot of what my friends in the States would call F-bombs in there.
Right.
So we're going to drop quite a few F-bombs. And this is a poem. Somebody showed it to me today. I was in a pub. He said he got sent this, and it was a guy, you may or may not have heard of him, called Luke Wright. Luke Wright is a comedian / poet, and is like me from Essex. So I feel entitled to do this because, like, I'm from Essex and I can do the words, you know what I'm saying? So there's a story that a fairly recent bank holiday Monday, there's a bunch of people camping by the seaside in Essex who reckoned that they saw a lion. So this is a poem describing that event. So I just thought you'd like to hear it. The place of the camping is a delightful seaside town called Clacton. And I have been to Clacton, just saying. So the poem's called Essex Lion. So there we were, like every year, just up the road from Clacton Pier. The summer coughing up its last, the whiff of burger, clink of glass at Babs and Brian's caravan, the children palmed off on their nan, about to have a barbecue, perhaps a Chardonnay or two, then chew the fat and smoke cigars, talk football, property and cars, and let the evening ebb away in creamy moonlit reverie. When Barbara squawked, "Oh Lord, fuck me!" and all and sundry turned to see a cat-like beast. "By Christ," said Brian, "is that? It is a fucking lion. A fucking lion, a fucking lion." That peaceful Clacton campsite nigh on went berserk. Atomic warning. Campers diving into awnings, sausages on grills abandoned, couples pegging it in tandem. But I just stopped and gazed in wonder at the great beast standing yonder. Silhouette on low-slung sunset, worlds away from sick, slick pundits, talent shows and loan repayments, tabloid headlines, mortgage statements, school fees, Top Gear, work and taxes, forms, lists, vote slips, emails, faxes. Often, I think we're just prisoners, but that lion was the business. Stoked up coals inside of me that I've not felt since 93, then vanished in a kick of dust and left me in the Essex dusk. Officer, I swear to you, I'd only had a can or two. Ask Babs and Linda, we're not lying. We saw a fucking lion. We fucking did. It weren't a dog, no ghost town from an Essex bog. It as good as made a beeline for us, and that thing was feline. Officer, ask Steve, ask Gabby. That was no domestic tabby. Feeding that thing would get trying. A paradise lost of fucking lambs. A fucking lion. A fucking lion. I'll swear, still swear it when I'm dying. Officer, don't be a Benny. The thing we saw was MGME. A fucking lion. A fucking lion. Aslan's nephew. Simba's scion. A fucking lion. Bona fide. The sort of thing what's got a pride. A fucking lion. A fucking lion. A fucking lion. I'll make this plain. I'm not insane. That creature had a fucking mane. All right,
Ken,
go
you
Essex
read
now.
that
We're
so
going full on
beautifully.
Essex. Right. So wonderful evening again, as always. It's wonderful to be able to do this both here in the cafe and to meet again all of you wonderful people on Zoom. I hope you keep coming. Just to say, next month, July, the third Wednesday in July, is the wonderful Marcia Della O. If you don't know Marcia Della O, then look her up. You really need to know about her. She's fantastic. And she will be our reader for July.
And those of you in Ventura, what date are you at Poetry on Thursday?
I wasn't going to say that. I wasn't.
Well,
Gonna...
I think we'll say it.
All right.
Kenny is the featured reader at Ventura Poetry on Thursday.
EP Foster, 30th. So I've been luckily. So if any of you want to get down there, that'd be Ventura, California.
Ken,
Hello.
Ken, you read this so beautifully. You read it so well.
Thank you.
You could go into acting, I think, next.
No, I don't. No. I think I'll take it. I think I'll bring it with me, though. I'll read it in Ventura.
Yes,
It'll go down well, won't it? Don't you think? Don't you think it'll go down well, Weezy?
Ken.
All right, darlings, it's wonderful to see you. You guys on Zoom, thank you so much.
Ken.
Is someone trying to say something? Hello.
Me, Tina. Is there a
Tina.
Hi? Is there a competition again this year for Ventura? Are they running a competition?
Oh, yes, that's a good question. I'll find out when I'm there. I've heard nothing of it.
Are you actually going out there then?
Yeah, we're going over on Monday, so I'll find out and I'll let you know.
Yeah, brilliant. Have a lovely time. Hope you're reading.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's wonderful to see everybody. It's a great reading, you guys. Thank you so much, as always. You bring so much. We really value it so much. And everybody here in the cafe too, thank you so much. Especially, I'll just say at the end, especially to Hugh Dunkerley. Thank you so much, Hugh.
Yeah.
So until next time, it's good night from him and it's good night from me.
Thank you, Ken.